So that's generally, you know, where you start off. You can leaf spray, you can stem spray with that kind of equipment, but again, that's not my most favorite. You know, I want to take that weight, I want to put it somewhere than my back, somewhere else than my back. And that's why we can go to a four-wheeler, we can go to all the mules, Jeeps, I've seen golf carts. If you think about it, we could actually take a mule. You put a battery on that mule, we can strap a tank on that thing, and we've got a sprayer. All we need is something that moves, and we need a 12-volt source of power. So this particular rig here is set up on a four-wheeler. That tank sitting down here on the ground, that's the kind of system you can get, just walk it into like a Tractor Supply and just buy it right off their floor. Pretty good systems. That one's been used a good bit. You know, the quality of some of the fittings are not the best, but you can replace those fairly cheap. What you do get, you get a good quality tank, which is important. You get a good pump on that system, and you get the hose and handgun. So you're pretty much set up. These pumps that are out there, most of them, that when you buy those kind of rigs, are going to be like this one here. They're around 1.8 gallons per minute. And that's fine for hand spraying. Some are a little less, doesn't make any difference. There's SureFlow, there's FlowJet. These pumps have an internal pressure cutoff, so that whenever you click that switch on, this particular one will go up to 65 pounds, and then it cuts off by itself. And so whenever I hit that handgun, see if you can hear this. Hear this pump over here, it's cycling. Can y'all hear that? Hear it cycling? It's starting at 65, and I open that handgun up, and I'm not putting enough volume out there, so that thing clicks on and off. That's not supposed to be good for those pumps. I had a co-worker of mine, Dr. Eckert, that worked with us on the brush busters. He built a pressure tank system for his four-wheeler, really nice, so he didn't have that problem. Being me, I'm the guy, remember, doesn't rinse his tanks out. So I just kept my system like it was. We ran them side by side for years. My pump lasted just as long as his. Okay, so keep it simple. You know, these things have really gone down in price. We used to pay close to $100 for these. And I think now you can find them around 60 something. So it's always good to have spares there. Now the smaller gallon per minute pumps, higher pressure. Some of the spraying you're going to be doing, you may want more volume. All right, so we can get pumps like this one right here. It goes up to 4 gallons per minute. You can find these real easy through Northern Supply. There's a place. We order a bunch of them. You got more volume, but you got less pressure. So these kind of pumps, whereas I like to use them when we're broadcast spraying, are not the best when we're hand spraying, because I don't have that pressure to shoot up very far on a very big tree, right? So this particular rig is rigged with both pumps, so we can actually just change a valve, and I can go through either side of it over there, depending on what kind of spraying we're doing. So don't go to a high volume pump if you're going to be doing hand spraying, because the top pressure here is 45 psi on this particular one. We have. Y'all been using these pumps a lot? Y'all pretty familiar with them? Yeah. Had pretty good luck with them? They don't last forever, you know, but they're fairly inexpensive. The hand wands they come with, you know, when you go by like a box store. Oh, where's the other part? I may have lost. You can see what happened to the wand there as we put it down. That's one of the problems with these metal top wands. And, you know, we didn't script that. I didn't know that was broke till I walked over there just then. You know, it's broke off the end of the deal. One advantage you've got when you go with a system like this with these poly wands, because you're going to break them, is all you do is just take that nut off there where you got the control, cut it off, get that broken part out, stick it back in there with a little O-ring, and tighten it back down. You keep going. Your wand over the season gets shorter and shorter and shorter. That's okay. It's not like this one. I'm out of business right there when that broke. So that's something to kind of think about. Only criticism I've heard of the kind of the poly wands, this one's a little stiffer. These are made by some people in San Angelo. But when it gets real hot, they get kind of floppy. You know, they get a little limber out there on you, especially if you put a brass nozzle on the end of them. But other than that, it's pretty much the way to go. While we've got this rig here, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about four-wheelers, and I'm going to deviate just a little bit from the brush busters, just a little bit, since we got you here. That spray platform, as is, just with handguns, is very efficient. We can hand spray. If that in there is set up, we can run two guys off the side. You got the driver spraying, and we actually kind of clocked it over some acreages, and we could spray in the right densities about 700 mosquito an hour with a rig like that. That's not the most efficient way if they're kind of scattered out. But here you've got a rig that's set up for hand spraying, but you know, you've also got weeds to spray and things like that. How do you use that rig for that kind of work? Okay, we have a weed busters program. We're not going to have time to get into it. The only thing I'm going to show you is there's a couple of nozzles that we can attach to these systems. One of them is this little nozzle right here called a field jet. Okay, they come in sizes. This is a 9. It puts out about 10 gallons per acre, total volume, running at 20 psi off these little pumps. So this works on those rigs that you go down to Tractor Supply and buy. Okay? That little nozzle throws a 15-foot swath behind you. So now you have a spray system that you can convert, and all this thing does, that just slides right in there. All you got to do is have a little ingenuity how to, you got some baling wire, some duct tape, and you can get that nozzle on the back of your equipment. This nozzle makes no difference whether it's up or down. Okay? You can't go wrong with it. You don't have to spend much money. You know, you got a really good broadcast spray system, and you can use that old pump, that cheap pump out there. It will handle the volume on this particular nozzle. Downside is, which it ain't doing today, when the wind's blowing. All right? You've got some wind over about 10 miles per hour. You know, these kind of boomless nozzles don't work very well just because we have that wind catching that spray pattern and blowing it on you or off of the site where you're trying to do. You can also, you know, when you get these systems like at Tractor Supply, that particular one comes with a boom. You can add on to it, extra cost. You know, booms work pretty good in pasture situations. You know, I'm from West Texas. We don't have much of that. So if you've got any kind of brush or anything out there, booms don't work because we're going to hang those booms. That's why we tend to try to go with these boomless nozzles when we can. But over in this part of the country, that may be more practical to you, a boom, if you've got Bermuda grass pasture or whatever.